Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jaden and welcome to the Plug Points production. Today, we're talking about how to bring your photos to life using Photoshop, whether you're taking a picture with a camera or just your phone camera, whatever the case may be. It's going to basically how to actually completely manipulate a picture and making it look 10 times better or more creative or whatever. So I actually have an example set up for you guys right now. If you take a good look, this is before right here. So this is before, and then we edit it and put over textures and stuff like that, and it just looks cooler, a little bit more exotic. But there's a bunch of different ways to edit different kinds of ways in Photoshop, whether it's a black and white monotone selection to an extreme exotic contrasted like color effect like this one. So we completely transform this picture just by putting a texture over this, putting some filters over it, contrasting it a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird looking, but I think it's better. So yeah, like I said, this right here is the original, and then this is what happens when we edit it, and it just looks better. You know, once you edit it, usually sometimes it does look better, sometimes it doesn't. I'll be taking you guys through a couple different ways to change and manipulate your photos in Photoshop. So just watch the tutorial and kind of take apart and piece apart whatever you want to take from this and learn a bunch of different things and apply it to your next project or whatever you're working on. So with all that said and done out of the way, guys, let's get started with all of the tutorial stuff. I'm going to bring back the image that we're starting with, which is going to be this bad boy right here. So I'm actually going to just undo all of that and go from here. So this picture is pretty good. It's just a basic rule of thirds. You got the center, you got the L, and then you got the foreground, and it's just a pretty basic picture. So honestly, the only time I could see you guys actually use like, I'm trying to think. The only time I think you guys could the only time I think you guys could utilize a picture like this to make it look better for some reason is if you're gonna be using it for a post or something on like a social media for marketing or stuff like that. Other than that, this kind of picture doesn't really mean anything. So one thing I do recommend when looking at a picture before you edit it is kind of just distinguish what you want versus, things you don't want, so that way you know where to go from there, whether it's colors, effects, simplicity, or exotic, whatever you're going for, your style, your genre, whatever it's going to be pertained to. Just keep that in mind when you start this off. I like to start right away with just like color correction when it comes to photography, because you want to get those colors like sorted out of the way before you do anything. So this is the colors for just the picture itself, because we're going to be adding even more color correction to blend everything else at the end, but this is just for the picture alone. So you kind of just put it up to the standards that you want it at. So I'm going to do that really quick. So right now I'm using a brightness and stuff like that. The brightness and contrast are the two biggest, things when it comes to taking pictures and stuff like that. I like to work with a darker kind of composition with a higher contrast because I think it looks cooler, and what I'll usually do is bring up the exposure. So the exposure exposes the whites and decreases the blacks, and it's kind of just a more of a contrasty look, but it looks cool. So we'll do that, and it looks a little bit overexposed right there, but that's fine because it's not a perfect picture, so it's whatever. You don't want to mess with the offset or gamma correction just yet. We'll do that later on because we're going to use that to blend with all the other effects. And then photo filter, just so you guys get that color that you want to match with everything else. So I'm probably going to do like a yellowish kind of right there. So that kind. I'm just going to bring the density down to like 15. So it's not that apparent, but it does make a difference. So, and then one more effect that we can work with is probably the vibrance, just because you want to control your color. So for vibrance, I'm going to bring up the vibrance a little bit, but then to bring down the saturation. And then we'll change that when we do even more color correction. So now I'm going to group these in a folder and call this color grade or correction. And boom. You lock that folder and you're good. So with, without, with, without, with, without. So that's just my style of how I like it, darker with higher expositivity, and it looks cool. So next you want to actually just take into consideration your next style. So you guys probably seen me with this folder before, the photo edit textures, and this is I use this in almost every tutorial so far. So, well, every Photoshop tutorial. If you do want to add effects and stuff onto your picture or whatever, you look for something that you might want to throw in there. So for example, I'll just use this vector illustration right here, and we're just going to match this up with the composition like so. Let me just bring this up. Boom. And that looks good. But looks good. I mean, we're gonna have to fix this up a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trace everything I'm going to trace using my pencil the whole entire wall, and that's it. I'm going to make sure I leave out the floor, the door, this thing over here, and if you guys aren't familiar with the pencil, it's this right here, and you kind of just, if you guys don't know what the pencil is, you just trace out what you want. It's pretty self-explanatory, so I'll be back when I finish penciling this out. Alright, so I penciled it out for the most part. It's pretty sloppy, but I'm just doing it fast so I can get this over with. Once you get it penciled out, you're going to make sure you're on your pencil selection, you right click, and go to make selection. I'm going to keep my feather radius at 0, make a new selection, and make sure it's anti-owlized, or whatever the fuck that word is, and press OK. After that, I'm just going to make sure I select my actual layer that I want to overlay. I'm going to turn it on and press Ctrl J, and then I can delete this, and now we have a penciled out version of what we're looking for. So it doesn't look good right now, but if we add effects on it, or the blending mode on it, it'll look a lot better. So if you guys aren't familiar with blending modes, you have a lot of different blending modes. You have all these to choose from, and I don't think people take those into consideration enough, because I literally scroll through all these blending modes every single time I make anything in Photoshop. I literally start at normal and use my mouse wheel to go down until I find something that looks cool. It's very simple. I mean, like, honestly, like, you just look for something that looks good. So let's see if we find anything, that looks cool in my opinion. Let's keep looking, see what else we got. That looks pretty cool. That even looks pretty cool. So now once you find things that you think looks pretty neat, you definitely wanted to just go over it one more time, make sure you are okay with whatever that is. I kind of want to go with this one just because I do like the way that looks, and if we take down the color a little bit, you could see that like it doesn't blend in at all, so we're gonna have to make it work somehow, but that's okay with me. But one thing I want to go over is the shadow right here. So usually multiply or darken will actually make it shadowized for you, but it really didn't do that in this case. Actually, before I select that, let me see what the other one was. I kind of like that one. I think it was this one. Yeah, I kind of like this one better now that I think about it. But again, it doesn't do the shadow effect, and honestly, it's okay because I'm probably going to show you guys a little bit of a different way to do this. So we want the wall to be like that, but the thing is it looks unrealistic. It looks like we edited it. So the goal here is to not make it look like that. It's to make it, it's to make it look a little bit more, organic. And what I mean by organic is I don't want it to look like we edited it in Photoshop. I wanted to make it look like we actually took a picture with our camera, and that's what it looked like. So to do that, you're going to have to fix colors here and there. This obviously looks like we put an image over it and did whatever. So to fix that, we're going to have to repencil this, and that's fine, just go with it. So go back to the pencil, and we will trace this once more. So I'll be back when I finish tracing this again. So I traced it out really quick. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the image again. I forget where that was, this one right here. And I'm going to bring that back in, and I'm just going to slide it like right there. Right in the middle, nothing, and that's it. All I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I'm on my pen tool, I'm going to right click, go to make selection, press OK, press Ctrl J, boom. And there it is. So now we're going to look at this one right here. So this was the original layer, this one we were working with. So this is on darken color, and we're going to put that on the same exact one. And let's look for it. Actually, before you do that, I want to redo that selection tool. So I want to make sure we get that. Alright, I was just checking if we had that. That would have been bad. Alright, so Control J once again. I'm going to delete this. Oops. I'm going to delete this one that we just made, and I'm going to put this on a darker color. And then I'm going to press Control and click this right here, the thumbnail of the new layer that we made, right? And then I'm going to go to the bottom layer, the original photo picture that we edited, and press delete. So that way we have the oops, let me do that again. Didn't work. So this way we get rid of like this part of the picture, and it doesn't overlap with the new one, and then we get this cool effect, and it works pretty well for the most part. So there it is. It looks a little goofy right now because I didn't really take it into consideration, but you guys kind of get the idea. If you're messing with, a three-dimensional image, like this is kind of three-dimensional, you have a little shadow effect, you can go to the blur and literally Gaussian blur it by like a little tiny bit, not even a lot. like that, and it looks fine. Looks cool. Whatever. Let's say you want it totally different. You want it to look completely different. So to do that, you just gotta drag in the image you want to mess with again. Boom, like that. I'm gonna actually flip this horizontally, and you could honestly just redo it if that's what you want to do. By redoing it, it's actually a lot easier because you can you don't have to retrace it. That's what I'm trying to show you guys right now, is you don't have to retrace it. So if you want it to be a totally different look to it, like you don't like it, you don't have to retrace it. All you gotta do is use this thumbnail, you control and then click, and then you press Control J on the new layer that you did, whatever it is. You can delete the other one, and you set it to the same layer, whatever it's called, and boom, you're good. So here you guys go. This doesn't look that great in my opinion, but I'm just doing it so you guys can see, you know, the different effects. So I showed you 2 different ways to do something. The next is going to be what's it called? Brushes, or lights, as I like to call them. Basically, it's ultralights. So an ultralight is it's a light that you use a brush and color. So I'm gonna go make a new folder and then make a new layer, and we're gonna make our ultralight. So we're gonna go to our brush tool, which is right here, and for this scene I want more of a brightish orangish color for the top. So I'm going to set it to the color using my color swatch right there, and what's it called, I'm going to make my brush bigger. So to do that, you can either go up here and play with the the size and all that, or I like to just use control and I right click and I just make it big and all that. I'm just going to highlight up here and do a little bit of the corners. I did that. Next I'm going to make another layer. We're going to go with a little bit of a reddish kind of color. So like right about there is good. We're actually, I'm going to go down here to this red right there. And I'm going to highlight this. And I'm going to do one right down there. We get that. And then one more layer, we're going to make this one black. So the black is going to be like a shadowy effect. And I'm just going to do the bottom. And I'm going to do like one right there, one right there, one right there. So now we have like these lights going on. I'm going to put the black under the 2 colors, and then I'm going to disable the black and this one right here, and we're going to mess with the first color, which is the red, and we're just going to put this on some sort of blending mode to make it look even better, just to make it cooler looking, I guess. So I'm going to go with soft light and then bring down the opacity to like 75 or even 60. And then we're going to go with the yellow one, and we're going to mess with the blending modes with this, of course, again. And we're going to see which one fits this one better. So let's see. So I'm going to do pin light, and then I'm going to bring down the opacity even more. So right there. And then we have the shadow right here, and we're going to bring down the opacity on that just to like 50. And boom, you got your ultra lights. With, without, with, without. And you can just bring a little bit more color into it. It's pretty simple stuff. So that was the third thing. The fourth thing is going to be filters. And a filter is basically just kind of like color grading. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to do that fifth. For the fourth one, we're going to go to a totally different, we're going to think of a totally different way of approaching this, which is getting all these layers. I'm going to unlock the color correction. I'm going to take all these and put it in one big folder, and I'm going to duplicate that by pressing Control J. I'm going to take this folder, and I'm going to merge group, and now it's one thing, so it's cool. It's now a final image, and then I keep this one just in case I have to do anything else, and I don't want to delete it, so I always do that. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to go up to filter, and this is going to be the fourth thing. So you got your filter gallery. So click filter gallery. Here you have a ton of different ways to approach with, all these effects. You got splatter, which is the one I'm going to be using for today. You get, sprayed strokes, you get sketch, distort, artistic, the texture. You can mess with all of these. I'm going to be doing this one, which is the splatter, and we're going to mess with this one a lot, see what we can come up with. This is just going to displace it a lot, and then I'm going to mess with the blending modes. I'm probably going to put it on darker color or lighten, I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to put it on lighten. I'm going to make another layer from the original. I'm going to filter and go to filter gallery again. Go to stylize, go to glowing edges, and then you can play with your settings. I'm going to keep it just like that. It looks fine to me. I'm going to put the blending mode to lighten. And then I'm going to press Control T, transform it. and bring it up. Make this like cool 3D effect. A little too much. Even more. And I'm going to duplicate it again. But I'm going to go to the opposite way and go down. And I'm going to make a hue and saturation. And I'm going to create a clipping mask, and I'm going to play with the colors. And I'm going to put it that color, and then I'm going to do that with this one as well. So, hue and saturation, clipping mask. I'll put it over here. And now you got this like cool effect going on. So you take these two and bring that opacity to like 50. So now you have this like cool little effect going on there, bouncing colors here and there. You got a bunch of colors going on everywhere, and you can see we're getting more exotic with it, and it's just getting a little bit better looking. So you got all that. So now, the fifth one is going to be your filters. So for your filters, I'm going to do that effect I showed you guys earlier, where I make it into a group, and we're gonna make that. And now we're gonna go make another group. And we're going to start with our actual color correcting, or color grading. So we're going to go to brightness and contrast once again. And I'm going to bring down brightness again. I'm going to bring up the contrast, or put down the contrast actually, because it's already contrasted enough. We're going to go make another exposure, bring up the exposure again. And now at this point you guys can see it's getting overexposed in some parts, which is okay. Once you're editing pictures like that, basically anything's okay, as long as it looks good. And now we can bring up the offset so we can get that flat image kind of color going on there. And you just play with those settings until it matches like what you're looking for. And then I'm going to go to curves. And I'm going to just play with the little bar here. And it's getting a little darker than I want, so I'm going to try to not make it like as dark. So we're going to go down here to photo filter. And to change the darkness, we're going to go to a light blue. And I'm going to bring down the density. We're going to go back to this picture, or we're going to go back to the filters, go to Vibrance, and we're going to bring up the Vibrance, bring down the saturation to make it blend more and not look as like, we're trying to make it look a little bit more organic, like we took with an actual camera. And not like we actually edited it. At this point you could tell we edited it, but that's not the point. It's the principle of the fact that you want to make it look realistic and cool looking, and you want to keep that like effect going on. And that's what you're going to try to do. Next, we're going to maybe look at, let's say, oh yeah, gradient maps. I love gradient maps. Working with these is actually really fun. I have a bunch I already made. Actually, you can see all of these right here. So you guys won't have these, but I do. You can make your own just by making colors. So I'll show you guys how to make your own colors just for this, so you guys can know. So I'm gonna go with like a dark purple, like that, and I'm gonna change this to like a, yeah. So I'm gonna go with that. Press OK, and then I'm gonna put it on soft light, like that, and then I'm gonna bring down the opacity a bunch. And you get this like cool effect, and it's just like it's a little more characteristic to it. And now, so say we have our color filter going on, we have all of this. Literally, we did everything so far. But say you don't like a part and you already made it into one picture. That's okay. I'm gonna show you guys how to fix that. So to do that, delete the one you just made. Go down to your folder, reopen it. And this is your chance to redo that. So say I want to get the door not look like that. I want to make the door look fine. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this with the selection tool, right? And this is just for this specific problem in D. But I'm just showing you guys why why you should always make groups and stuff like that, for the sake, you know, that something does go wrong. So we're going to get that, and we're going to press delete. And we're going to press delete again. And now we don't get that weird effect that we get with the lines on the wall. And that's what I'm going for as of right now. So we can duplicate this folder again and right click and merge it, and boom, you get that, you know, you get the same exact thing and you get to fix it. So best of both worlds. It's looking great. And then final but not least, you get your final touches, which is going to be your what you put over the whole entire image. So I'm going to go back to my photo edit textures, and we have this picture right here that I use constantly. This is my favorite one. I'm going to drag this out like this, and I'm just going to fit it right there and put it on we're gonna go through these and see which one looks best. I like that one. Color dodge looks great, so I'm gonna bring down opacity. And now you got the texture going on. And boom, just like that, you guys had just completely changed the picture. And it really took, it would take you guys usually like 10-15 minutes. It took me like around 20 to explain all of this. So if you think about it, it's really not that much work. It's just messing around. So if you look at the original, let me just do something really quick. So boom, I'm gonna ungroup all of these groups, and I'm gonna turn this off. So this is the after. This is original, after, original, after, original. So you can tell we definitely changed a lot with this image, and it looks great. You know what I mean? I do want to bring up the brightness really quick because it's kind of dark, and also bring down the I'm trying to think which one looks better. Whatever, it looks fun to me right there. So boom, you completely changed it, and it looks fantastic. You know what I mean? It's just, there it is. So I hope you guys learned a lot for Photoshop for this tutorial. I hope you guys can take a bunch of things I just taught you and apply it to whatever your next project is. It's a pretty cool thing. You know, it's good stuff to learn, especially if you're working on some pretty intricate things. And with all that said and done and out of the way, guys, I'm gonna let you guys let me get some comments, questions, and concerns in the comment section. But like always, I'll answer you as soon as I get a chance. And with the tutorial done and you learning Photoshop, guys, I'm out. It's been Jaden, guys. Peace.